Compass Box Peat Monster 2019, 46 ABV, around $75. Has this monster been tamed? What's up, guys?
Hey guys, it is Scotch for Dummies.
Four guys on a Scotch journey to help you with your next Scotch purchase. Maybe the Peat Monster.
Could be this big bottle.
Well, this big bottle would be nice.
You
but
wish it was
good
that
luck.
big bottle.
Yeah, because you can see it's already empty.
What did we get instead?
Well, we got the 2019 version of
The
the
little
Peat
bottle.
Monster. The little bottle, the little boy, if
The
you will.
little painted bottle.
That's
so
right.
not the brown label.
It's been around for, 2019. It's a
Yeah.
replacement of the what they call the brown bottle, which
Brown
has been
label,
around
yeah.
for like 2007.
7-ish? Yeah, it's been around a long time.
But there's a slight bit of difference in this version versus the old version. They're mostly the same, but from what I understand is that this one has quite a bit more Cahuilla. It's a blend, by the way, of different single malts and a hint of a Highland blend, I believe.
But it's still a blended malt.
blended malt,
Blended
correct.
malt, yes.
So no grain.
No grain. So it's got 64% Cahuilla. The old one was like 54, so a little bit higher Cahuilla. No Lacheg in this one at all. And the other one is Lefroy, which is about 1% more than the other one. So but basically, mostly Cahuilla, no Lacheg. Everything else is mostly the same. I think I paid around $70, $75 for this.
pretty good.
46, you said?
46 ABV.
All right.
All
So
right.
lightly peated?
Just slightly.
A wee bit.
Yeah, that's why they call it the peat monster, because
So,
it's lightly
Right?
peated.
Just a hint.
Let's let this thing breathe a little bit. Are we using a certain coin here?
Coin number 36 looks like.
36.
All right.
All right.
Coin set 36. If you want it, it's still available at the time of the air of this, so maybe you can have this.
Or
Is
at
it-
least at the time of recording.
Is
So-
it other monster coins? Get it?
For anybody that's not familiar with Compass Box,
Dad
what are we
joke.
going to tell
That was
them
dad.
about Compass Box? How awesome Compass Box
Independent whiskey maker. They get their whiskey from all. They don't distill anything.
Nope.
They just get their barrels and whiskey from other people. And John
And
Glacier
through
and
their
his,
amazing alchemy, turned it into something amazing.
John
Exactly.
Glacier and his blending staff, because he's not the only whiskey maker anymore.
And what's amazing about it, that's why I knew the ingredients, they post everything on
Very
the website.
transparent.
As much
Everything
as they can.
Well, that's true. They put those little,
The little
Low ones in
hints
there.
and winks and nods, because they don't want to get in trouble all the way, but they do push it pretty far.
that's true.
Right. So
which
to
is
get
great.
around the room, the rule, your little Highland blend, that doesn't tell us what it is. That's enough to get around the rule of giving the whole recipe.
Very
right?
vague in those little tiny things, but that's his way around the
John
rules.
Glacier is very adamant about natural color. You're never going to find E150 in his juice.
Non-chill filter.
So non-chill filtered.
And maybe the best corks in the business.
Yes, he does get quality corks.
we do
And-
have a story.
It's like-
and their marketing team that they use, Stranger and Stranger, the people that make these labels, are just incredible.
Yeah,
we
the
we
label's
were actually
amazing.
checking out the label before we started, and there's all kinds of like little details and stuff, and you're like, I'm sure it's got symbolism. There's a reason why they put that stuff in there, but I'm not sure. There's like a book and a quill, and there's some beakers and stuff. It's
Well-
interesting label.
And we actually have a face to the monster technically now
Right,
too.
we know what the
Right.
monster looks like.
So
It's a pretty cool bottle.
I'm excited. We did this review probably 3 or 4 years ago, the original one. We loved it then. I'm really excited to see what we got in this one.
What's our price on this before we get
I think
crazy?
I paid around $70 for this one, if I remember correctly.
That sounds about right.
Not having the old bottle that we reviewed previously, I think this one's darker. I swear that first one we had was really,
Almost
really
It
colorless.
was very,
It
it
I
was
think
very
you're
light.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, this one seems like it's got a little bit more
Ooh.
It's got
hue of it.
It's got some nice smoky and sweet notes.
It does. It's a lot sweeter than I remember before. Almost medicinal too.
Yeah, it's like it is a little
Waxy.
bit Band-Aid, but almost leather Band-Aid. I mean,
It's
it's
got some airy apple on it.
apple.
Reminds me of that wax candy you use, the liquid inside.
Yeah, that waxy. That's probably a good.
My first sniff, I got a fair amount of that smoke and peat, but there's some serious sweet notes that are building as I'm just sitting here, as the peat wafts off a little bit.
So you're talking about like those bottle wax candies that
Yeah.
you bite the top off and you drink the.
And you can't
And you
taste
chew,
anything
and
because
you
you
chew
bit
the
the
whole
top
thing
off.
because the wax too.
All of this is horrible, but I gotta go for it.
Apple in those too.
A really delicate sweetness on the initial palate, and it rolls up.
Ooh.
I was getting that Lefroy char, that campfire charcoal, a little bit of that in there.
I'm trying to find a word to describe the sweetness of it on the initial palate because it's real light.
It is,
and
light
delicate,
vanilla.
But the sweetness that's there is really good.
It is.
I
It's like
can't.
a floral sweetness. It's kind of hard to put it into like a
It's-
sweetener term.
It's almost like a blossom water or something like
Yeah,
that,
I
where
can
it's
see
just
that.
like real delicate and floral, but the smoke is there. It's very nice.
I got a tangy quality up front. I got the sweetness in the late palate.
So I need my flavor wheel because it's been a while since I really dug into a good peated whiskey, and
It's not super earthy.
no, it's briny or sour or kind of funky.
Light in those terms.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's not heavy.
I would describe it as, to me, like either peat is like really deep earth or salty, briny notes, or it's got like, I want to call it light peat. It's not really light, but it doesn't have those earthy tones. It's got more sweeter notes to it, and this to
Correct.
me has a lot more sweet on the palate. It's approachable in that regard.
Boy, I really like that charcoal on the edges.
I'm wondering the fact that you told me the ingredients that my mind is stuck on it because I know there's a little bit of Lefroy in it, but I swear I smell it.
Well, that might be the
I-
sweetness we're getting in that quarter cask or whatever they're using.
No, they're like 30%, 35%
Oh, is there?
look for.
Oh, I
Oh,
thought
yeah,
it was
no,
just
that's
a little
no,
bit.
30.
No,
35.
Oh yeah, because
it's a punch in the
I was
face.
gonna say, man, this really
Coahuila
has
and
a
Lefroy are the
Lefroy
two big ingredients.
quality to
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
The
And,
sweetness.
and honestly, you're probably nailing it. That's exactly what I'm thinking of now. If I remember Lefroy, that medicinal sweetness.
But
it's
there's that
complementing.
sweetness now. Now it's airing off a little bit.
Man.
It's interesting that
Um,
you know what would be kind of cool is to get some Lefroy and Coahuila and blend it a little bit and kind of see what
Try and see if you can make
see if
it.
we can make this a little bit.
Now, if you look at their information on this, they've got. It's funny. They break it down. We've got 1% Coahuila hogshead that has fruity, 30% Coahuila refill hogshead that's sweet, and it's like, well, how do you get that? I don't know if it's because it's older or what.
That's interesting.
But they're using the same barrel, the same distillery, but giving very different flavors out of it.
I mean, I can kind of see that just from having a lot of single cask whiskeys that, you can get barrels from the same distillery that are vastly
Oh,
different, even at the
absolutely.
same age.
Well,
So
from the same bodega
yeah,
or whatever.
so I mean, but it's interesting to me that, this is a mass-produced blend, so they're like, okay, well, we're going to need,
Yeah.
X number of barrels of this style of, it's got to be sweet, not as floral or as fruity or whatever they're looking for.
They're both Lefroy and Coahuila are refilled hogshead, and then both of them, this one and the old one, both of them heavily toasted French oak barrels, 1%.
For that
Yeah.
Highland. So, and maybe that's a refill hogshead, but maybe the previous fill was sherry, or the previous fill was a different kind of whiskey. Maybe it was who knows what.
I can almost, now that I know that those two are there, you can almost smell them in the blend together on the nose. Like you can smell a little bit of Coahuila, and you can smell a little bit of Lefroy.
Yeah, see, I don't think this has as rich of a base as the other.
I think I like the other one better so far.
Because I remember when we tasted the other one just like 2 weeks ago, it was like, oh man, this is so good, and this is good, but it's not like wow, just so better balanced.
It's interesting that they went with a sweeter style. I mean, they really focused in on the sweet. I don't get any of those like earthy, deep, what I would consider richer peat notes. They really focused
It's
in
lighter.
on a lighter, sweeter style, which is interesting. I mean, you don't get this kind of peated
Yeah.
scotches often. So
Yeah, I don't know the details, but apparently this was kind of redone because of some suggestions from viewers and people talking about it. So maybe to your point, that's
Oh.
sweeter or lighter on
Not me.
purpose. I would prefer to have the other one, but
well, I wonder if
there's
they
got to be reasons.
I wonder if they did it to make it more approachable for people, or if it was. It might also be a bar thing, like people wanted to use it in
Like
in
penicillin or
drinks
something.
and things
Could
like
be.
that, and they wanted a sweeter style peated to get to the
Could be.
peat without giving some of those.
It doesn't
deeper
seem
notes.
as rich as I remember.
No.
You know
Which
what I
is
mean?
crazy because it's darker.
Yeah.
Wow.
You kind of
It doesn't
anticipate.
make-
I,
yeah,
you know,
it's
you're
E150.
fine. You're what? No, it's not even.
No, I know.
Yeah, right.
It's very clear. It's no coloring added.
So water made it more medicinal.
It's very different than what I was
I didn't
anticipating
know
going in.
Oh.
Definitely on the nose, it made it more medicinal. But I'll tell you what, it definitely softened the edge on the palate.
Wow. Sweet medicinal in the nose with water.
I think it softened the palate.
Mm. Made it
I get a
sweeter.
little bit more medicinal. It's bringing out some of those mid palate notes that I was missing. Neat. It's still not. It's still missing that earthy richness.
Yeah.
Um,
It's super sweet with
But-
water. Like I did not. It's almost
Yeah.
too sweet.
Well, see, I'm getting an off balance here, which is kind of unusual, and I just need to probably spend more time with it.
Right.
But I'm getting like this corn sugar, not corn sugar. It's more like a sugar sweetness with kind of an acrid smoke on it that doesn't work well.
Yeah, it's unbalanced. Yeah, somehow it's not right. But I maybe put too much
Now,
water.
maybe it's the. I mean, it was a neck pour, the first one open, but
I mean, I'm. How much water did you put on? Did you put a fair amount or just a little bit?
I mean more than a few drops. I mean,
I put a fair amount.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not getting quite that. My glass still seems pretty well put together, but it's brought out some notes that I wasn't getting on the neat. So I'm kind of I'm raising it up a little bit based on that.
it's like a vanilla,
Am I ready yet?
almost like vanilla ice cream.
I was gonna say like a custard.
Yeah, it's probably better.
If you burnt the sugar or something on top, that's kind of
I like burnt.
burnt.
Not browned it.
No, like
Burnt it.
smoked that stuff.
Yes.
I guess I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
Go for it.
So Peat Monster 2019 edition, 46% ABV. I had, I like Compass Box. I enjoy almost every bottle that we've ever had from them. And I think the ones that I didn't enjoy, I just didn't understand, maybe. I just wasn't ready for
Fair
them, you
enough.
know what I
Yeah,
mean? Because they do some really interesting stuff, and I generally like all of the things that they do. I'm sure they had a reason for doing this particular bottle, and it's good, but it's not really what I'm looking for in a peated whiskey all the time. It's interesting because it's got all that sweet with the smoke, and so it's a little unusual, I think, but I don't know if it would be what I would reach for when I was reaching for a peated whiskey. At $70 a bottle, it's not unapproachable, and I think it's a decent dram, but it's a little on the sweeter side. It's missing some of those deep, complex notes that I like. It's got complexity, but I don't know that it all balances together all the time. There's a little bit of disjointedness to it, not all the time, but occasionally. I like the fact that when I put water on it, it brought out that medicinal note, like that iodine-y kind of thing, and it was a nice complement to the sweet. But there's a lot of vanilla hanging out there, and like vanilla sugars and those custard flavors.
Mm-hmm.
But it's missing some of that like rich mouthfeel and depth of texture. So it's a good whiskey. I think it misses the great mark. I'm gonna give it a 2.5 because I liked it with water. I thought it brought out some of those notes that it was missing neat. So I think it's probably an above average whiskey, and it's an interesting whiskey because it's an unusual style. But I don't think I'd go over a 2.5.
Okay. That's pretty close to what I'm going to give it. Pretty close. So it is interesting. I think it's a fun glass, and I actually think that it's probably going to change a little bit after we've opened it because it's changed a lot in my glass just from the 5 minutes it's been sitting there, right? I thought neat. I liked the nose. The palate was a little bit edgy for me, so maybe that was just because it was the first, second drink, and let it go down. The water changed the nose. You said you liked the iodine. I was kind of iffy on it. Just wasn't jiving with me. I did appreciate the palate with the water because I think it took that edge off. But then it's evolved already since then. I mean, it's changed a little bit. So I think it's a fun glass. I think it's a good blend for people that want to see what blends can do. Right? It's definitely that. It's a $70 to $80 bottle. which is, I get it, it's kind of expensive for a blend, but you know what? A lot
It's
of
Compass
Compass Box,
Box, so-
right? So I mean,
Yep.
it is quality. I'm not going to say it's that. It's not hitting the mark for me. It just isn't. Believe it or not, the last nose I got while you were talking, I was blowing into the glass to try to lift some of that vapor out of it, and I was getting a much more oak nose, even a little hint of like purple grape, which is crazy. I'm like, where's
I
that
get
coming
that.
from?
Yeah.
I'm like, man, it almost like a, was just catching me off
That's the
guard.
sweetness I'm looking for. Yeah.
And so maybe that's exactly what it's doing. But so I really am at a 2. I'm just at a solid 2. It's a decent bottle of whiskey. I hate to judge it against the one we had before, but it's it's still a
Same
Peat
name,
Monster,
so-
right? I got to. I like the other one better. But so I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I'm really glad it's on our bar. Yes, we're gonna enjoy it. I'm curious to see if it gets a little bit better with some time.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think I'm on the same page with you as far as the score. I do, again, this is one of those whiskeys that I do like that it changes every sip. You don't get overburdened by the peat that it blows out all the sweet
That's true.
flavors on every sip. Every sip is a refreshing, you refresh that sweetness. I could see the grape now that you mentioned it. It's like, oh yeah, that's the kind of sweet that I was looking for. It's kind of a real tender sweetness. It's not like punch your face like raisin kind of sweetness. And it rolls through. But unfortunately, tonight the acridness of that smoke is really edging my edge of my tongue, and it kind of burns out, and it's not balanced tonight. I generally like Lefroy, which is probably where the source of primary that smoke and that char, but tonight it's not working. I think the base 65% Caol Ila it doesn't hold that balance as well tonight. I mean, then maybe tomorrow. You're right. When we review this
see.
on Thursday, we'll see if it changes.
We'll be talking about it. 'Cause we'll
So-
be drinking it.
I'm going to give it a 2 because it's got some unique characters, like you said. It's got kind of interesting. It's not great. I probably wouldn't drink more than like a glass of this a night because it may be a good starter, and then you move into something a little more rich, maybe. So that's a 2.
I'm all over the place in this one.
He's a 3.5 and a 1.
I've been fluxing between what you said and you said. I'm like, yeah, oh yeah, that's a good point. Now I'm back down at 1.5, 2.5, 1.5, 2.2. I'm all over the place. And you made a good point, which I was going to bring up is I gotta treat this like it's brand new, not the old one, because the old one, I agree with you, was actually significantly better than this.
Yeah.
However, this by itself, brand new. I never had a Peat Monster. I'm judging it by it is and the price and what I'm getting out of it. I agree. It feels like it's disjoined somehow. Something's just not blending right. I almost don't want to know what's in it because now I'm focusing on that a little bit and screwing me up. Like I feel like it's too much Lefroy as well. But to that point, if I forget about what it is, it's too medicinal for me. I'm not getting enough peat and the smokiness what I want when I want something like this.
Yeah.
The sweetness for it, it's good and bad. I think that it's nice to have, but sometimes it's like it's throwing me off a little bit. And then when I added water to it, it became like cotton candy sweet, overpowering the peat what I was liking before. Could I have added too much water? Maybe. I don't know. But the fact of the matter, I keep going back to a couple of things. Vanilla wafers, vanilla caramel, medicinal, peat, smoke. Those are all good things in there, which represents some complexity to it, which is kind of nice.
true.
However,
Good
the
point.
complexity is, which is good. You want to, when you drink something, you kind of want to think about it and go through different stages, which is there. But it's like they're not joined well together to me. So I think it's throwing me off a little bit. I'm gonna go for $75. I love Compass Box, so I'm gonna give it a little bit kicker there and go straight 2 with you guys. I know there's a lot to say for that, but
Yep.
I think a 2 is a good score for this
so,
bottle.
too.
Yeah.
I think
There
so
you
too.
go.
So
I'd love to sit down with John and talk through this.
Yeah, it'd be cool.
Because, he's clearly got intention of why this is what it is. And
I'm interested to talk through on Thursday because I'm sure there's a bunch of people out there that have
Oh,
had
there
it.
are.
We're going to get a
Absolutely.
lot of opinions on this review. It'll be interesting to see.
It'd be really cool to do like a newbie into peat and get some like what bottles would we bring in that would be nice. Like this would be a nice entry level to your point
that
earlier. What some other ones could be good. Maybe this does fit the newbie person to a peat monster or a peat palate that we're not sure of. That maybe the sweetness and everything else kind of blends better. I don't know, but
I
there
don't
you go.
know. I still think
I
this is a
wouldn't-
little bit of the deep end for a newbie.
I wouldn't throw a newbie in this because it's got that disjointedness. Put it
You're
on.
just thinking it's easy.
Right.
Anyway,
All right,
guys.
guys.
So
2.5.
2.5.
2.2.
2.125.
there you go.
Who
Peat
would have thought
Monster
that I would have overruled Andrew on the peat?
2019. We'll see you guys on Thursday.
Cheers.
Cheers.